Good afternoon, virtual students. This is the guided lesson video that I said that I would post to Teams today for the shopping budget assignment that we have started on today. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to fully model this lesson, and that's what I did with my face-to-face students as well. So I am going to go through each step and show you all how to complete the steps, and all you all have to do is follow along with what I do. Okay. So I figure the best way to start working with spreadsheets is just to kind of jump right in and do one. So that is the aim of this lesson. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle back and forth between the instructions and the work that I am completing, and you all are going to complete the work along with me. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open an Excel workbook, and I'm going to use Excel 2016 or 2019, I believe is what y'all have on your laptops. So I'm going to click my Windows icon in the bottom left corner to bring up my applications, and I am going to click on Excel. Okay, so just like how we navigated to Word, we're going to navigate to Excel. Okay. So once I have opened Excel, I'm going to select blank workbook. Okay. And there is my blank Excel workbook. Okay, so we're going to do our work in this spreadsheet. You can zoom in a little bit. Okay, so let's get into the steps of what we're doing with this assignment. So number one, I'm going to enter the title in cell A1, and the title is shopping budget. So before we do so, we need to kind of define a couple of terms that we're looking at. So first of all, it says enter the title in cell A1. So what is a cell? Well, a cell is each of these little boxes, okay? And it says to enter our title shopping budget in cell A1. So the way we identify cells is if you all look across the top and see all these letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on, those are our column headers, okay? So each letter corresponds to a column, okay? And a column goes up and down, okay? So that's column D that I'm highlighted on, and column E, etc., okay? And if you all notice along the left-hand side, there are numbers, okay? These are called rows, okay? Rows go side to side. So the way we identify a particular cell is, for example, if I were to click on this cell, it is the column and the row number wherever those cells or wherever the column and row number converge, okay? That is the identity of the cell, and it's called the cell address. So this cell that I'm on is called D5, okay? And this cell is F7, and so on and so forth, okay? So the cell address that we are entering the title in is A1, and we're putting shopping budget, okay? So we can select cell A1 and go ahead and type shopping budget, okay? All right, so that is number one. So let's move down to number two. So number two says select cells A1, B1, and C1, or in other words, A1 through C1. So A1 through C1 is known as a range. So that is a set of cells, multiple cells, okay? So A1 through C1 is referring to A1, B1, and C1, okay? It says then in the Home tab in the Alignment group, find and select Merge and Center, okay? So I'm going to select all three of those cells, A1, B1, and C1, okay? And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to click in the first cell in the range, which is A1, and I'm going to want to click in the middle of the cell somewhere, not along the edges, okay? The middle of the cell somewhere. And then I'm going to hold the mouse down, and I'm going to drag over to select all three cells, okay? So I have selected a range of cells, A1 through C1. And what I'm going to do is now I am going to merge those cells together with the Merge and Center button. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. And what I just did is I made those three cells into one big merged cell. Okay, and I also centered the text in that cell. So now I have a title going across columns A, B, and C. Okay. Okay. So let's move down to number 3. So with the title still selected, on the Home tab, we're going to apply a new font color, font size, and font style. So this is an opportunity to just make yours unique and give your title a little bit of personal flair. So I'm going to pick, I guess, a blue color, and I guess I can make it a little bit bigger. Probably don't want to make it giant, but I can make it a little bigger and pick my favorite font. I guess that one. Okay. All right. So we have formatted our title to be a little unique, a little our own. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to start inputting some things into our spreadsheet. Okay, starting with step 4. So we have created our title, we have centered and merged it over columns A, B, and C. And what we're going to do is now, in step 4, we're going to enter allowance in cell A3, enter the number 200 in cell B3, and enter shopping expenses in cell A5. Okay, so in cell A3, we're going to enter allowance. Okay. And in cell B3, so to move over to B3 over here, I can either click in it, or I can hit tab, or I can use my arrow keys, and I can move around the spreadsheet that way. Okay. So in B3, I'm going to enter 200. And in A5, I'm going to enter shopping expenses. Okay, moving down to step 5. In cells A6 to B10, so this range of cells from A6 to B10, we're going to enter the items and prices shown in the picture. Okay, so that's the athletic shorts, watch, shirt, socks, shoes, and the corresponding prices. So in A6, I'm going to go ahead and put athletic shorts. I'm just going to work my way down the list. Watch, Toomey's shirt, and socks, and Vans shoes. Then I'm going to go over to column B, and I'm going to put in the prices next to the items. So $32.99, $5, $24.99, $15, and $40. Okay. Okay, now notice that in column A, our words are cut off. So what we need to do is we need to expand column A to accommodate the words in column A so they're not cut off like this. So we want to be able to see all of the text. And now that we've entered data into the neighboring column, these words are not being shown fully. So the way we're going to do that is actually, if we skip step 6 real quick and jump down to step 7. We'll come back to step 6. We're going to justify column A so all of the text fits in that column. Okay, so there's actually 2 ways to do this. We can do it manually, which means what we're going to do is we are going to take our mouse and we are going to go right in between column A and column B until we get that little crisscross set of arrows. Okay, and we are going to click and hold, and we are going to drag column A so that it is wide enough to accommodate all of our items. Okay, now the other way that you can quickly expand your column to where you need it to be is you can go to the same spot right between A and B, and if you double click, it will automatically expand that column to the correct width to be able to accommodate the widest set of text that you have in a cell. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to move on to step 6. Step 6 says enter total expenses in cell A13 and enter money left over in cell A15. Okay, so let's go to A13. We're going to enter total expenses. Okay. Go down to A15, and we're going to put in money left over. Okay, so we already did step 7. We widened column A to accommodate our items. Now we're going to go down to step 8. And in step 8, we're going to select cells B3 to B13, and we're going to change the format of the data to currency format. So if we look at the numbers in row B, or in column B, well, if we look at our numbers, they are just that. They are numbers. They are not in money format, and we would like to present them in money format. So we are going to change the format to currency. So it says B3 to B13, okay? But one easier way to I guess, change the format of all of the data in this column, since all the data in this column will be currency data. If you just click on the B, it will highlight the entire column. And so we can just go ahead and do that rather than just select the cells that we are looking for. So if we just go ahead and select the B and select the entire column, that's a little bit of an easier way for us to do this. So we can go ahead and select the entire column. And if we click the $ icon, that will change our format to currency format. So now we have dollars and cents. Okay, moving down to step 9. In cell B13, you're going to use the sum function to add up the amount spent for total expenses, and then press enter. Okay, so in cell B13, we're going to select B13. Now Excel can do a wide variety of calculations, ranging from very simple calculations such as addition, such as summing, all the way to very complex calculations. And for some of the simpler calculations, such as addition, such as averaging, there is a shortcut, and it is called AutoSum. And AutoSum is here, where I placed my mouse. So we're going to use the AutoSum shortcut to sum up these prices and get a total. Okay, so you're going to select cell B13 and then go ahead and click AutoSum. Now notice that there is a little dotted line around these cells right here, and what that means is that Excel anticipates what numbers it is that we want to sum. And as you can see, it selected this range of cells, and that is what we want. Okay, so we can go ahead and hit enter, and it will total our prices. Okay, so now we have a total for all those various items. Okay, now you all don't have to follow along with me on this, but for future reference, because it will be important later, I'm going to go ahead and undo that. I'm going to manually create a sum formula. Okay, so the way I would not use the shortcut, so we use the AutoSum shortcut, is I would manually key in a formula. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do so. Now, any formula you're ever going to use in Excel always starts with an equal sign. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type an equal sign. And then I'm going to type sum, because I'm using the sum formula. As you all can see, there are a lot of different formulas in this drop-down list, but we're just going to use the basic sum formula, and we're going to type a parentheses. Okay, and then I am going to select the cells that I want to sum together. Okay, so if I were to just want to sum, for example, the first two items, the shorts and the watch, what I would do is I would select just those two cells. And now notice in my formula, it put B6 to B7. So that is the range of cells that I am summing in that case. And I actually don't have to close my parentheses. I can if I want to, but we'll go ahead and hit enter. And this total is just the shorts and the watch. Okay. Now in this case, we do want to sum them all. So I'll do equal sum parentheses, and then I'll go ahead and select my numbers that I want to sum. So in this case, it's all of them. Okay, and I'll go ahead and hit enter. Okay. Now, one more point of interest that actually will be useful completing this assignment and future assignments is what if, so I'll go ahead and back out of that one more time. What if I wanted to add up some numbers? I wanted to sum some numbers that are not next to each other. So they're in non-adjacent cells. So far, I've only added numbers together that are next to each other. So I selected these two, or I selected all of them. But what if I wanted to add up just the prices of, for example, let's say the shorts, the watch, and the shoes? Well, how would I select this cell, and this cell without selecting the ones in the middle? So this is the way I would do that. I'm going to type my formula equals sum parentheses, okay? And I'm going to grab my first two cells that I want to add, okay? And then I'm going to let go of my mouse, and then I'm going to go down to cell B10 that I also want to add into the sum. And I'm going to hold down the control key. That's the key that says CTRL. Okay, I'm going to hover my mouse over this cell. I'm going to hold down control. I'm not going to let go. Then I'm going to click this cell. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and let go. And I have selected these three non-adjacent cells. Then if I hit enter, adding up those three cells. So that is how we select individual cells that are not part of a range that is all adjacent to each other. Okay, so that is all next to each other. Okay, but anyway, we need to move along. So let's go ahead and just go back to our original sum formula. Okay, in fact, let's just go ahead and use AutoSum. So just as a reminder, the original instructions were to go ahead and select B13 and click AutoSum. Okay, and it will anticipate the range that we want. Okay, if that wasn't the range that we want, we could manually change the range. But in this case, it is. So we'll go ahead and accept that. Okay, so that is our total. Okay, so let's move along. So we have just completed step 9. We have used the sum function to come up with our total cost. Okay, all right. So we're getting to the end here. Step 10. Select cells A3 to A13, and we're going to add a border between column A and column B. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to select A3 to A13, okay, and we're going to apply a border. And the way we do that is we go here. This icon is the border function. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and if you click the arrow, you'll get a drop-down menu, and there are many different types of borders that we could apply. So if we want a border between column A and column B, so here, what type of border are we going to apply? A bottom, top, left, or right? Well, we're going to want a right border because we're going to want to border the right side of the cells that we selected. So we can go ahead and select right border. Okay. And then you won't be able to see the border until you click out of the range that you've selected. So if you go ahead and click anywhere else, now you can see that we have applied a border. Okay. All right, let's go down to step 11. Step 11 says delete row 5. On the home tab in the cells group, select delete. Okay, so we can do this one of two ways. This is, I think, the easier way, and it's the way I use. I'm going to go ahead and select all of row 5. And the way I select a row is just like the way I select a column. So I'm going to go over to the left, and I'm going to click on the 5 itself, and that will give me this whole row. Okay. Now to delete this row, I think the easiest way is to hover your mouse anywhere over the selection. So not here or not here, but you have to be on the selected row. And then I'm going to right click in my drop down menu. I'm going to select delete. Okay. The other way is to, I undid that. The other way is to use the delete button on your ribbon. So I can go ahead and click delete and then select delete sheet rows, and it will delete it that way as well. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and use the drop down menu and delete that row. Okay. Okay. Down to number 12. Critical thinking. What Excel formula would you enter to solve for the money left over? Okay, well, money left over, our number there is going to go in cell B14. So how are we going to figure that out? So the money left over would be the money we started with minus the money that we're spending on these items. So the money that we started with is going to be what cell? It's going to be cell B3. And we're going to want to subtract from cell B3 this amount, the amount in cell B12. That's our total expenses. So as I said earlier, well, we're going to do a formula, and all formulas start with an equal sign, okay? And we are going to subtract those two cells. So I am going to want to subtract B3 minus B12. Okay, so that's all you have to do. I will do that again. So equal sign, and I'm going to select by clicking on B3. I'm going to type a minus sign. I'm going to select B12 and hit enter. Okay, so I have 6202 left over. So once again, equals. I'm going to click on B3, and I'm going to type a minus sign. I'm going to select cell B12 and hit enter. Okay. Now, you actually don't have to click the cells if you don't want to. You can actually manually type the cell addresses. So I could type equals B3 minus B12, and that works as well. Okay. Okay, so we are all done inputting our data, and what we're going to do now is we're going to create a pie chart to represent our data. So down to step 14. Well, whenever you in Excel you create a chart or a graph of any kind, first you have to tell Excel what data you want in that graph. Okay, so what data do you want represented by the graph? So if I were to just go to the graphs and input a graph right now, it wouldn't have any data in it because it doesn't know yet what data I want to put in. Okay, so what I need to do first is I need to select my range of data that is going to be represented by the chart. So what I'm going to want to have represented by the chart is the items and their prices. So I'm going to go ahead and select that range of data. This is where I want to go into my pie chart. Okay, the 5 items and the 5 prices. Okay, so once I've selected that range of data, I am going to go to the Insert tab. I'm going to go over to the Charts group, and I'm going to go to the Pie Charts. Okay, that's the circular icon. I'm going to select 2D pie. Okay, so I'm going to do a 2D pie chart. Okay, and I can kind of play with the size and the location of it, make it maybe a little smaller. Okay, so this pie chart as it is gives us a little bit of information. It gives us the items, and they're color coded according to this key down here. And it gives us the relative proportion of the cost, but I know that it doesn't really tell me as much as I would like. So one thing that I can see is missing would be labeling. I would like to see the dollar amounts to go with these colored sections. So what we're going to do is we're going to label this pie chart. Okay, so then we'll be able to see that. So the way we're going to label it is we are going to go on our chart menu on the ribbon to the leftmost menu that says Add Chart Element. And we're going to go ahead and click on that. And if you go down to Data Labels, you'll get another drop-down menu. And there are some different options. You can see center shows the numbers, but it's a little messy and obscured, I think. That one may be a little bit better. I personally favor this one, the outside the end one. So you can choose any of these options. And now we have labeled sections on our pie chart. Okay, so now we can see the dollar values that these sections are representing. Okay. All right. Lastly, I think we're on step 15. Actually, step 16. We just did step 15. We're going to add a title. Okay, so that is pretty simple. The chart title is in a text box, so we're just going to get our cursor in that text box. And we're going to replace chart title with what we want to call this, which is shopping budget. Okay, so that brings us to the end. And if you would like to add a little flair to your data here, your presentation, your chart, you could do something like you could add a fill to your pie chart. And if I were to choose, for example, a gradient fill, it would give me a nice colored background there. If I wanted to bold some my subtotal titles, I could select those, and I could hit the B to bold them. Okay, and I think it kind of cleans things up a little bit, makes it a little bit easier to look at. Okay, so that is all. Okay, so follow along with those steps, and once you are done, lastly, but definitely not least, make sure that you save your file, okay? Because we are working in Excel 2019, not Excel Online, and this does not auto-save. We have to manually save it, okay? So what I would like you all to do is click on File, okay? Once you're done with your work, go down to Save As, and then save it to your desktop. So you're going to go this PC, okay? So you're going to save it on your computer, and go ahead and save it to your desktop. I think it's most easily accessible from your desktop. So go ahead and click on desktop, and you're going to title it shopping budget, okay, and your name. Go ahead and hit save. Okay. And tomorrow we will upload them to Teams. Okay. That's all I've got, guys. If you have any questions or need any clarification on how to do anything in any of the steps that I covered in this video, shoot me an email or post to the Teams conversation.